Hello and welcome to this week's Ask Amy. Thanks so much for joining us. Our guest today is Ryan Reynolds with Consumer Reports. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on, and you're talking to us today about mistakes on our credit reports.
Yes, thanks a lot for having me today, Amy.
Yeah, so you guys recently sort of did an analysis about what people are complaining about, and credit report error seems to be a big problem. I'm going to let you take it away and tell me what you found.
Yeah, so the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they have a complaint database online for a lot of the financial issues on complaints they receive from consumers. You can search the database and go through the different complaints that they receive. And credit reporting complaints are the number one complaint that the CFPB receives. And errors on credit reports are the number one errors amongst those. Over the last 2 years, the number of complaints the CFPB received has more than doubled. So it is an issue that we'd like to address and improve.
Yeah, so first off, why it's such a big deal. I mean, our credit reports these days are tied to just about everything. I mean, you want to rent an apartment, a lot of times they check your credit report. You want a loan for a car, to take out a line of credit, they check your credit report. Even insurance, right? So that could be the reason why you're getting a super high interest rate, or denied for a loan, or denied to be able to move into an apartment or someplace you want to move into. So you're able to spot errors and then get them fixed. We're going to get into getting them fixed in just a moment. The other thing, though, I wanted to let people know is we mentioned CFPB. Can we tell people what that agency is and what they do? These are complaints made to the CFPB.
Yeah, so the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, it was created out of the Dodd-Frank Act, and they're just probably the biggest, most effective consumer watchdog government agency that's out there. They're doing a lot of really good work in improving the financial lives of folks.
So if we think about, I guess, any sort of business that we deal with related to money, like banks, credit cards, that would be an agency where if we're not getting our issues resolved at the company level, we could file complaints with the CFPB?
Yeah, so the CFPB has supervisory authority over banks, some credit unions. So yeah, they're putting out just different guidance to help businesses just kind of navigate the process.
Yeah, so I like it just that it's another avenue of recourse for consumers. I mean, usually when people hit snags, they, first work with the business and then they get no relief and they'll go here or there, but always remember that CFPB. Now, also they're great with all of this information, like Consumer Reports was able to get and to see exactly what people are having the most problems with. So why do you think, were you guys able to tell why people are they seeing more errors, or are there more errors, or are people just noticing them more and complaining about them? What's the big issue here?
So I think there's a couple things that could be going into this. One of the things that came about during the pandemic was the credit reporting agencies agreed to allow people weekly access to their credit reports on a free basis. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, everybody's entitled to their credit report once a year. But recently, this past fall, the credit bureaus had extended weekly access to those reports. So people are able to check it for free more often. So that probably enables people to just kind of stay a bit more on top of what's in their report.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other issues are the credit bureaus generally side with the what's called the data furnishers. Those are the companies that are sending them information that's getting put into your credit report. So a lot of the times they'll just take whatever explanation that these data furnishers are. So if they say, hey, is this debt supposed to be on there? The consumer saying it's paid off. If the furnisher sticks with their story that the debt is still outstanding, a lot of the times the credit agencies will just side with them. And part of it's automation. When you're sending in your supporting materials to the credit bureaus to showing that you don't have this debt anymore, they'll send they'll assign it like some little short code that will get sent to the data furnishers. A lot of times they're not even seeing the supporting documents that the consumer is sending in. And then they're just automatically denied.
So robots, basically. I mean, at least at one level, that initial level where you're filing your complaint, it might not necessarily be a human with a set of eyes reading through and looking at what you're saying the problem is.
Yes.
That is extremely frustrating. And so all of these credit bureaus, all three, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, are making our credit reports more readily available to us. We can get them free every week, but then there are more errors, or maybe there's more errors. Consumer Reports sort of highlighted in an article that I read here to accompany your recent study analysis about, some people are even having to sue for errors because it causes so many financial problems.
Yeah, I do think the errors are there. They've probably been there, but now people are able to kind of check on that a little bit more. One of the things that the credit bureaus also do say is that there's these credit repair clinics out there, and they will make kind of false promises that they can help improve people's credit.
Mhm.
So that they'll contend that a lot of these the complaints that the CFPB is receiving is basically these credit repair clinics that are just kind of spamming complaints, contesting every single line of debt that's on the credit report, even though that's not true. And while that's certainly the case, we've been hearing from tons of consumers that have plenty of stories that they've shared with us. And while that might be a percentage of the complaints that the CFPB is receiving, it's certainly not all of them.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying that some of the credit agencies, they're saying, hey, in our defense, they may not be legitimate complaints. It's like a company that I might hire because I don't want to deal with making a dispute myself. So I hire a company and then they're just complaining, en masse about a bunch of things. So they're getting kicked back. That's very interesting. So the credit bureaus are using robots to look at our complaints, and these third-party companies are using basically sort of a random robo approach to submitting the complaints. I think what a lot of people want to know is how to do it themselves and how to do it effectively. So when we come back, I kind of want you to walk us through the steps. There are certain timelines and deadlines when we do dispute an error on a credit report, that the credit bureaus have a certain amount of time to respond to our complaints. So I want to make sure that people understand how they should be doing that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I hope you'll break all that down for us. Welcome back to this episode of Ask Amy. Our guest today is Ryan Reynolds. He's a financial policy analyst with Consumer Reports, and we are talking about credit report errors. We know that these are very important because they could mean the difference between getting a home and not getting a home, or getting a car loan and not getting a car loan. So, Ryan, where we left off was how people can effectively dispute an error that they find on their credit report. There's a certain way you have to go about it, and advise certain ways they should be doing it. So say I go through and I notice something on a ding on my credit report that I don't believe belongs to me. I don't even recognize that lender or that loan or that amount. What do I do?
Well, I got to hammer home the point: document, document, document. You want to have all your supporting materials ready. You want to make sure that there's no mix-up as you're getting the stuff sent in. So send all of those materials to each of the credit bureaus that you see an error on. You'll have 3 major credit reports, so you're going to have maybe slightly different files with each, especially if you're finding an error on one of them. And send that by certified mail to make sure that there's no mistakes handing things over. Under the law, they're required to respond to your complaint within 30 days. So that might not, hopefully that's the end of it there and it gets taken off your file. But that they could deny your complaint that goes in. But just make sure that you have all your documentation ready, because if they deny it and you're still pretty sure that this is not supposed to be there, that's when you can follow up with the CFPB. They're a great agency to submit complaints to. They'll take whatever documentation that you send in and they'll reach out to the credit bureau and try and find out what's going on. And then usually businesses are pretty quick to respond to the CFPB, and under law they're required to respond within 15 days.
So here's the rub. I mean, for example, in the instance that I gave, which is just a, fake scenario, that I don't even recognize this amount or this creditor. I don't know why this is on my credit report. I don't have any documents to give because I'm just saying that's not me. That's not my debt. So then am I entitled to any of the information that the credit bureau has that they received from the data furnisher that for why this creditor is saying that I owe them money?
You'd be able to dispute what's on the report, but you're not going to be able to see the information that is going directly to the credit bureaus. You could always reach out to the data furnisher. A lot of the times that something like that would happen is in the case of what's called a mixed file. There might be somebody with a very similar name as you or lived at the same address at some point, and that's getting associated with your account.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, generally you can write in and kind of explain the situation, and hopefully it gets resolved.
Okay, that is good information. And then you did mention I need to file, if I notice an error, I should file a complaint with all three credit bureaus or all three credit bureaus where I see the error. It's not good enough to just file with one because they're not communicating with one another.
No, they don't. They don't talk to each other. So they're all three independent businesses. So they're going to maintain their own files, and they all have a process of doing things. But there is one place that you could get all your credit reports. Under the law, under annualcreditreport.com, that's where you're able to go and get a copy from each of the bureaus. And now you're able to get those once a week for free.
Okay. So what I guess you are hearing or seeing with the people who had to move forward and then file the complaint with the CFPB about these errors because they weren't able to get them resolved or taken off their reports is that it can be a pretty onerous process. Now, you did say the credit bureaus have 30 days to respond from the time that I file a complaint and say, hey, this isn't, we need to fix this error. But does that just, is an acknowledgement of receiving my complaint, does that suffice? Or do they need to resolve it, either deny it or fix it within 30 days?
They do need to come to a decision. So they'll tell you what the steps they're going to be taking, or they're going to say that, we haven't found that this to be an error and we're going to keep it on the report.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about you guys are taking it a step further, not just gathering this type of information and finding out that people are complaining more. You're sort of going to have a collaboration going with an organization called Work Money where you want to hear about people's experiences trying to dispute errors. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, definitely. So Work Money has been a really great partner. They're good at helping us reach an entirely different audience. And since credit reporting is something that basically everybody in this country is going to have to deal with, it's helping us gather more consumer stories and more data to kind of see people's experiences with the credit reporting system. They're helping you basically improve your financial life. They will connect you with different discounts and things of other organizations that they've partnered with. They'll direct you to local services in your area that can help you improve your financial life, whether that be, debt counseling or anything along of that nature. They've been fantastic to work with.
Yeah, and I was specifically talking about this credit checkup because I thought that Consumer Reports are sort of partnering with Work Money on that. Can you talk about the credit checkup where where you want people to go and input information, right, online?
Mm-hmm. So credit checkup is we're encouraging everybody to go check their credit reports. So anybody could find this online by going to cr.org/credit checkup. If you Google CR credit checkup, I'm sure that will come up as well. But yeah, we'll give you steps to checking your credit report online. So like I said before, you go to annualcreditreport.com,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be able to get free weekly access to your reports. If you see any services that they're trying to sell you, don't go along with that. You're entitled to the free report. And then after you check your credit report, we have a short survey for folks to take and kind of talk about your experiences. We want to know if you found any errors on your report, what kind of errors those might have been. So whether that be personal information being incorrect, or if there's a debt amount that's not supposed to be there, or just an account that you don't really recognize. We'd love to hear that because we're comparing that against what we found in the CFPB complaint database. And then we're going to try and take all this information that we found and put it in a report and kind of come up with some proposals to improve the accuracy and the dispute resolution process, just to make this whole process a little bit easier for everybody and to ensure that the reports are more accurate.
Yeah, and that proposal would go to lawmakers for changes that they could actually make that would help all consumers moving forward and getting these errors removed whenever there are errors on our credit reports.
Yeah, we'd send it to lawmakers. We'd also send it to the credit bureaus. We've had a relationship with the credit bureaus where we've met with them. Part of their agreeing to extend weekly free access to weekly credit reports was following our discussions with them. So I think everybody's invested in making sure that credit reports are more accurate.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about something that I did not know was possible. And this is just another little step, something you can do if you dispute an error and the credit bureau denies it. There is something that you can do so that businesses, lenders checking your report will see that you're disputing this thing on your credit report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this Ask Amy. We are talking credit report errors and how to fix them. Ryan Reynolds with Consumer Reports is joining us with some valuable information. So Ryan, one thing that I learned from the Consumer Reports article that's talking about this issue is that if the credit bureau won't remove what I think is an error or what I say is an error from my report, then there is a step I can take. I can ask them to add a note to my credit report file. What does this mean?
Yeah, so you can add a statement to your credit report that can get attached with any of the trade lines or the accounts that you find in a credit report. So if you're disputing something and it's not going your way, you can have a statement attached, and the credit reporting agencies are required to put it in. So that might it won't improve your credit score, and it might make it more likely if a lender is actually looking through your account. They will see that statement and kind of see the explanation that you give in there. So it might be more likely where you can get a loan or anything like that. But it won't be taken into account with like calculating your credit score or something.
Exactly. But say I'm looking to lease an apartment and they're looking at, delinquent payments or, and they're actually taking the time to look at my credit report. They might see like, hey, I've disputed this particular thing and it's not coming off my report, but here's what happened.
Yeah, and if in that case, if it's like a landlord or something like that, and they're a reasonable person and they kind of see the explanation, that could be the difference in getting approved or denied. Yeah,
is there an exact way to go about asking for that note? Do we just write a letter or a certified letter to the bureaus? How do you request that?
Yeah, you can write a certified letter. There'll be instructions on the credit reporting agency's websites. You can get to any of those websites from annualcreditreport.com, and they'll have instructions on how to send in a statement.
Annualcreditreport.com. I know you've said that several times, and the reason why I emphasize it and say it again is I always have to look it up. It's so easy, annualcreditreport.com, because if you go to Google and you type in free credit report, it's going to take you to 1,000 other places, which, like you said, are going to try to get you to pay for something once you're there.
Yeah, and you do have to watch out because a lot of these times you can get your credit report through some other means, but you might get offered even a free product like credit monitoring. But with some of the credit bureaus, if you agree to some of the other free services that they provide, you might agree to an arbitration clause or something like that, which waives some of your consumer rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So,
okay.
If you're looking to check your credit report, make sure you're going through annualcreditreport.com and only get your credit report. Don't get your services.
They're never going to ask for your credit card number because it's free. Yeah. So the other thing that I hear people ask or say, sometimes they say with authority, and I'm like, I don't know if that's exactly true. We've heard a little bit about, because I believe some states and the country has tried to pass some things for medical debt, and as it relates to your credit score. Is it really fair that if I owe money for a hospital bill, that then my credit score could go down? I mean, so is there any type of medical debt that cannot go on a credit report that legally shouldn't be reported to the credit bureaus?
Yeah, so there's been some steps to get medical debt removed from credit reports, which we think is a great thing. We don't think that somebody having medical debt is really any indicator of how creditworthy that they are. Just because you have a medical bill, you're always going to be paying your rent first. You're going to be paying off your car bill first. The medical debt is not going to be at the forefront of what people are paying. So there was under $500 in medical debt, and anything that's been paid off at this point no longer appears on credit reports. I believe is since 2022. But I mean, as you know, a lot of people that have medical debt, it's much more than $500. So some states have been taking steps to just have a blanket ban on the reporting of medical debt on credit reports. Colorado is was the first in the nation to do so, and New York followed suit. And there's a couple bills around the country in different state legislatures that are working to do that right now. So that's something that we strongly support.
Okay. And then in terms of when debt falls off of your credit report, we've always heard after 7 years, it falls off. So what? Like after 7 years, I've had a really bad financial time, and then I just wait, and then my credit report is wiped clean of all that. Does it really work that way?
After 7 years, the outstanding debt can get wiped off. Depending on when that debt might have been sold to somebody, it could go on a little bit longer than that, because there'll be debt collection agencies that own it. And then if you have a bankruptcy, that can also get removed off your credit report.
After 7 years?
I believe it's 10 years.
After 10 years. Okay. So one of the things that we've told people, and I see that Consumer Reports also lists it as a recommendation to sort of protect your credit, is a credit freeze. Can you kind of explain what that is and why it would protect a consumer?
So credit freeze or security freeze is definitely a really good tool that consumers have in their pocket, especially if you believe you're the victim of identity fraud. Because what a credit freeze will do is it will prevent anybody from opening new lines of credit or new credit accounts under your name. So there won't be anything additionally that goes on your report. But I would just say watch out if you're looking to apply for a loan or something like that, because that you won't be able to get any new lines of credit if you have a freeze on your account. So that's something great if you want to protect your minors, or any children that you have. But if you're looking to take out a loan, you would need to remove the freeze from your account.
And is there a cost associated with it, putting the freeze on and then taking it off, putting it back on? Does that cost me?
No, you're entitled to place a security freeze on your account for free.
Okay, that is good news. And then you mentioned for minors. So people would think, oh, well, why do minors even have a credit report? We've heard these nightmare stories where, a young adult gets out of college or in college decides to open up their first credit card for a line of credit and realizes that their credit is sunk. It's horrible. It's terrible because somebody's stolen their identity and opened up all of these lines of credit and then not paid them. So would putting a freeze, how would that even work? Like, say my child is 12. I would just go to the credit bureaus and using the social security number, put a freeze on them?
Yeah, so with the credit freeze, everybody's entitled to put it on for themselves. But in the case of an individual under 16 or under, a parent or guardian is able to do that. So you could reach out to the different credit bureaus and ask to put it into their name. You will have to provide some personal information to verify an identity, but you'll be able to put it there on behalf of your child. They won't have to kind of figure out how to do that themselves.
Okay. Ryan Reynolds, this was fantastic information. We're going to link to your article with a lot of the details about these credit reporting errors and how to fix them. We'll put links to that. And we appreciate all you do at Consumer Reports to sort of keep consumers safe and look out for our financial information.
Thanks so much, Amy. And to everybody watching, please go to cr.org/credit checkup. Check your credit. We'd love to see what you find.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a good one.